Alrighty. Well, that was a good intro, I guess. Welcome everyone to the first LinkedIn Live brought to you by Trucker Tools. Today we are here with Carrie Jablonski from Trucker Tools, CEO. We have Reed Lucelot, who just became the Chief Marketing Officer at Truck Parking Club, and me, the co-founder of Shipper CRM and Freight Caviar. This is going to be an exciting LinkedIn Live. We'll be talking about produce season, kind of, what is produce season? How do brokers get prepared for it? Some horror stories. We'll have even like a meme contest at the end of it. Plus, we'll be joined by Bill Lupe, who's the COO of Ben B Detroit and Schwartz. So looking forward to this. It's going to be a great time. Real quickly, Carrie and Reed, could you give us quick intros?
Ladies first.
Sure. Oh, I appreciate that, Reed. Thanks everyone for joining today. My name is Carrie Jablonski. Like Paul mentioned, I'm the CEO of Trucker Tools. We are a load tracking and capacity tool suite for freight brokers and carriers. And I'm really, really excited to be here for the first ever Freight Caviar LinkedIn Live. Paul and I, the way this whole thing got started was Paul and I were, I think, randomly seated next to each other on the way home from Manifest in Las Vegas. Is that right? Back a couple months ago. And we were just chatting, and he and I were talking about some of our marketing teamwork, and the Freight Caviar brand has just become such a mainstay in the freight tech and the freight world that he and I were thinking, wouldn't it be cool to start doing something and some more video content sponsored by some partners? We're already a sponsor of Freight Caviar. So here we are testing this out, and it's been fun to come up with the game plan for everyone. I think the topic today is awesome, and I'm grateful to be here with two luminaries in our industry.
That's very kind of you. That's very kind of you, Carrie. We appreciate that. I guess I'll go briefly. I'm Reed. I sell hats. Historically, I've sold hats, and I've got lostfreight.com. I got a little Discord going, and recently just became the CMO at Truck Parking Club. So Paul and I are obviously friends, and Carrie, I would think it's safe to say that we're friends as well, hopefully, although we haven't sat next to each other on the plane. Maybe that'll happen eventually.
That's because you only fly Spirit Airlines, and Paul and I stick to United.
Hey, we got all these people talking about flying in the middle seat, man. I'm flying Spirit. All right. So that's middle seat on Spirit, by the way. So
you should start that challenge. Yeah. Spirit CMO.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
But it's good to be here. I'm excited. This is awesome. Yeah. So I'm glad you're a great guinea pig for us to do this with, Carrie. You're a first mover in the space, and you're prolific in your own right. So it's good to be doing this with you.
Awesome.
Funny enough, Carrie, we were actually sitting across from each other. Remember, I asked the lady you were sitting in the middle seat, and I asked the lady in the aisle if she would switch with you, and she was kind enough to switch with you. So shout out to that lady, because without her, maybe we wouldn't be here right now.
And we are both middle seat CEOs, because I was sat in that middle seat, and then you were so kind and took the middle seat from me.
Well,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't mind flying middle seat as long as it's economy plus. So middle seat's not that bad.
Fair enough.
Run Spirit. All right, cool. Let's get into this. So real quick, we'll start with the first slide. Carrie, this post of yours went viral. I think it was like 2 months ago. Just kind of took off on LinkedIn. Can you tell us a little bit about this post?
Yeah. So I was sitting in my office one night, I think it was a Thursday, and it was at the end of February, and we had started to talk to a couple of customers about produce season coming up. And, we expect everyone for the last 2 years have been talking about, when's the market going to turn around? And the answer is always 2 quarters out, and that is always the wrong answer. So but we'd started to have this version of conversation with our customers around, well, it's going to be produce season. We're hoping to see at least a little bump from that. So I was thinking about something I post about that. I thought produce season would be an interesting topic to share a little bit about. And I've always been a very visual person. I love maps. I have a bunch of maps in my house, and geography has always been interesting and fun to me. So I was just thinking, wouldn't it be, kind of interesting to just visualize where all the different produce that everyone's talking about in produce season actually comes from, because we talk about produce season as one big thing. It really is like, it's kind of like conference season. It's the entire year, more or less, but with the exception of a couple of weeks in the winter. So I just, pulled up some Google Slides and made this map with some, I think, adorable little emojis. And I could not believe the response to this post. It's been reshared hundreds of times. We're now featured in producebluebook.com forever. And there's a lot of, there's just a really, really positive response to this around produce season starting, and a lot of interest in the different sub seasons of produce season. So what I took from that was I think I struck some sort of chord. And I, as someone who was not ever a broker myself, I've always been on the tech side in freight. I really wanted to learn more about what is it about produce season that people go, pardon the pun, bananas for. That wasn't even planned. I just made that up. That was so good.
Wow, we can end it right now. We should end it right now.
Wow, I'm having a good day. So my question to you guys is, two former brokers right here.
No.
Why do you think everyone loves produce season? What is it about produce season that was exciting to you when you were slanging loads? Talk to me a little bit about the hype here and why everyone wants to talk produce.
Sure, I'll begin. For me, produce season was like the beginning of like the freight kind of year, because like if you think about January, February, it's like pretty slow, and then like when it starts picking up in March, you kind of understand like, oh, it's like that pickup from the produce in the south. A lot of trucks want to head down south to get better rates, and for me, it was kind of like, January and February were just way too boring of months. Whereas like when produce season hit, you finally experience better rates, more spot loads, and you can make more money overall. It was just more exciting. You come into the office, there's like a lot of loads to cover, versus like when it's like the beginning of the year, it's still kind of just a little bit too slow, too easy, which is also good. You kind of need a break sometimes. But like for me, it was always like March, April. That was the beginning of produce season, and like May comes and it's like, it's getting really hot. So I've always had like a good experience. Even though it made work tougher, it just was exciting because you actually come in and you can make more money. You could sell more loads. So that was the way I looked at it. I'm curious, Reed, on your end.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo everything you just said. Obviously, that's fact. Yeah, January, February slow. For me personally, I moved a lot of flowers, and I was very, very tight with a handful of like South Florida carriers. And so I was always doing freight in and out of Florida year round. And especially for me, kind of Florida produce season, which is like that, late March, April, May, especially from flowers, like in around Valentine's Day too. Like any opportunity when Florida was like going crazy was really, really good for me, because it meant that I had very good contacts who were looking for loads going into Florida year round, which is not always the case for most brokers. And so I was really able to kind of lock down some steady capacity kind of in and out around produce season, which was just obviously an opportunity to make some money and to really just feed just great freight to my carrier base. So yeah, it was, and to Paul's point, it was just not a boring time. Like there was always stuff going on, and it made the days a little hectic at times. And there are the horror stories, which I'm sure we'll get into, but yeah, just an exciting time all around.
When do you guys think produce season ends?
I mean, for me, it was like, I felt like the end of May, June was when the flowers like that I was doing, which were my main thing, didn't really like kind of slow down a little bit. But I know it just moves up the country, like obviously as this map illustrates, right? It depends on, where you're strong as a rep. And so for each person, it might be slightly different based on the freight they're moving. But like generally, it'll just move up the country. So it really doesn't.
Yeah.
It really doesn't end, I guess, in one way.
So we did a lot of potatoes and carrots. And so like it would begin like in March, where like when the carrots and potatoes like out of Florida, South Georgia. And then like we would do that for a couple months, and then it would transition, move up north, and like then it would be like Idaho potatoes. So like it would definitely change. And then you also get like the Christmas trees in Oregon, like in like I think October or September. You get also the apples like you have right here, September and stuff. But we typically did like Florida, Georgia produce. So that was basically like March to July, kind of like what you have right here featured. Carrie, was like the months when it was like really busy on our end.
Awesome. Well, let's go to the next slide and tell me a little bit about. So you guys are kind of frontline early career brokers working produce season, and it sounds like you're both remarkably successful. I want to hear more about Reed's flower empire at some point, which we'll get to. But tell me a little bit more about, as a broker, like what did you have to do differently from what you're saying, January, February, down days of the winter to produce season heating up? What did you have to think about, and what advice would you give to someone who's really entering into their first produce season right now about how to handle and succeed?
On my end, for sure, like I know like everyone says this, but first and foremost, it's like, well, relationships, and it's like, know your carrier. It's like, what did they do? Because like once produce season comes, like those carriers already booked up in advance because some broker knows what they do and they already have those loads, like all those trucks booked up. So like understand, like before produce season comes, like reach out to trucking companies, figure out, do they have vented vans? Do they reefer? Like, do they actually do floor loaded potatoes or carrots? Because a lot of the loads that we did were like floor loaded and they were by weight. And a lot of carriers like don't like doing that unless they pay a lot of money. So it's like figuring out, like having a list of like the carriers that would actually want to do this. And then like, so that's like the most important thing I would say is like, and it takes time because, for like maybe like 2-3 months, you're going to be calling carriers. You're not going to be doing any business with them. And then all of a sudden produce season comes. If you want to have some form of like, I guess, advantage over others, you want to have those relationships intact beforehand. So that's what I would say is like the most important thing.
And how early in advance? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Reed.
I won't repeat. Paul, I might have to go first next because Paul's stealing all my answers. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Carrie. Maybe.
Well, I was going to ask. Maybe you can answer this. How far in advance? We know when the flower harvest is happening, or when the flowers are all getting up to Florida from Colombia. How far in advance to get the good carriers that you worked with, who you wanted to keep loaded? How far in advance would you have to book loads with them?
I mean, the thing is it's like, if we're talking about actually booking the loads, it's not always super forecastable, right? It might literally be day of in a lot of cases, because things are very fluid and product is notoriously, anyone who's moved produce in any form will know that it's just super kind of last minute when things are even ready, So it could be day of, it could be a day before. You could try to say something like, hey, have a couple trucks for me next week for X. I might not even know what lane it is, but just have some trucks. And there's a lot of trust that goes into like relying on a carrier to save trucks for you when it's really busy. Because if you don't have the best relationship, to Paul's point, it's like they could potentially be wasting their time saving trucks for you even. So it is very much down to having the right carriers, having the right contacts, them trusting you, you trusting them, and then really like them being prepared and equipped to handle the freight. Because even within produce, there's lots of variability in, the difference between the expectations and what normally happens on a bulk, potato load or an onion load or carrots or apples versus flowers versus berries, right? There's so much variability between them that you really just need to have the right people, and there has to be just trust baked into it, or else it's going to be like, that's when the horror stories happen. Like, you need the horror stories more often than not, in my experience, happened as a result of working with carriers that were not prepared or had not historically done those sorts of loads, and that's when stuff can really go bad. So
okay, I want to get to the horror stories in a moment, but before we do, I gotta ask, because it's on the slide, what kind of tech were you guys using to get through produce season? And was it any different than what you were using during the non-produce season?
Paul, I get to go first, so I can steal all your answers. So actually, when I started at Echo in Boston, we were like historically kind of a produce type office, and doing year round out of California, a lot of berries, stuff like that. And for those loads specifically, there was like a temp tail. I can't remember the exact company or who even it was, but it was like a recorder, a temperature recorder that were put in a lot of the loads, and those would send us alerts if the temperature was spiking or anything like that, and there was location involved in that as well. But beyond that, honestly, like, and for other loads, in my experience, I really didn't use anything beyond what we were normally using. So, but that was, that was a while ago. So things very well could be different.
Definitely. I mean, I was the same way. And like, I know like nowadays there's like a lot of temperature control, like devices out there, which like we didn't use at all. So like, it was just the same kind of TMS load board as always. And then like relationships.
Yeah. Well, just do a quick little soft plug. Cold chain is something that we've been doing a lot of work on here at Trucker Tools. So for any visibility needs you might have during produce season.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Please,
Trucker Tools might have a solution.
Yeah. And on the capacity side as well.
Very curious. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we'll be announcing more publicly soon, but just a quick little teaser that this is something we've been thinking a lot about and have some exciting announcements on the horizon. But our capacity sourcing tool has a Reaver search functionality as well. So as you're looking to shore up for, let's say, potato season, or I guess you don't need to move potatoes and reefers, so ignore me. But as you're looking to shore up for any reefer capacity over the next couple of months, our carrier sourcing tools got that going on as well. But enough about that.
I think just real quick here, I think for the potatoes, I think we had like 36 hours in a vented van, or maybe it was just a van. I forgot what it was exactly, but there was like a time limit for how long like the potatoes could be in the van. So I think there is like for longer distances. I mean, reefers are always better for produce, and I know Bill could tell us a bit more here in a second about all that.
Awesome. Well, let's get to what everyone's really looking forward to here, which is the horror story. So on our next slide, I have to take some credit. I made this meme myself, and I'm pretty proud of it. It's unfortunately not eligible for the meme contest. So
it's a great
with that, thank you. I appreciate it. So Paul or Reed, this is you over here on the right, recounting a horrible produce season load. I want to hear your guys' craziest produce season story. Let's start with Reed because he only got to go first once.
Thanks. Yeah, so the first time I ever did a like I said, flowers are like my thing. And I moved a lot of flower loads, and the first one I ever did. And so for those of you, I mean, everyone who's listening who knows flowers will know this, like not uncommon to have like a 16 drop load, like picking up in Florida, like Homestead, Florida, South Florida, like as far south as you can go besides the Keys, obviously, like picking up at the nurseries, 16 stops to like a hardware stores across the country, oftentimes driver assist at every single one. Varying, depends on the location, but totally varying whether you need an appointment or if you just show up or if you need to go find a certain person. There's just so many things that go into it. And I was like, I saw on the board, there were tons of these loads. I was like, man, like these things are awesome. Like they look really good, even with the drops. Like I'm going to do the math. It looks great. And, I start calling the carriers and nobody really is like wanting them because they're like, I don't want 16 drops. But anyway, I finally booked one and I was told that they didn't need any appointments at any of the stops. And they didn't, all the stops had pallet jacks. So the driver didn't really have to do anything, like didn't have to bring his own equipment basically. And guy picks up, gets to the first stop number 16. And he's got his whole plan to get him off in a certain amount of time, obviously because time is money. And, oh, hey, by the way, this guy, this place can't take this pallet until 2 days from now. And then he gets so there's this whole nightmare over the weekend of trying to get this guy unloaded at the first stop. And then the next stop is he gets there on Monday. It's the same issue. And it turns into like almost a 10-day load just to get my first load delivered. And the driver was just, I won't curse, but he just lost his mind. Like it was crazy. It was threatening to leave and threatening to dump all the load out of the back. Like, this is actually not super uncommon for this is why you book carriers who know what they're talking about. And obviously you need to know how the stops go. So I probably got 100 calls from him over the first weekend. I couldn't get really anybody from the team, from the customer team, or the customer, or any of the facilities to like talk to me, and it was miserable. Like it was just the most miserable one. It probably sticks out as a top 5 most miserable loads that I ever did. So, and obviously the driver, like we I couldn't really bill for any of the detention, which is another huge common thing for produce. Is oftentimes shippers, like if you don't understand the expectations and know the procedures, like a lot of produce loads don't pay detention. And so I ended up having to pay a bunch of money out of my pocket because I felt bad, obviously. And we ended up losing a bunch of money on the load. So it was just a horrible all around for everybody. Nobody had a good time with that load.
And these were flowers. So did the flowers all wilt and
the
die?
flowers were fine. I mean, they were in reefers. I mean, it wasn't
Okay,
really that big a deal. I mean, yeah. So it's the product was fine, but yeah, it was.
You were not fine.
No, I was not. No, not at all. It was horrible.
Traumatized. This is Reed with his wife right here.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. While that was happening, 100%. Yeah, it was me. Yes.
That's funny.
All right, Paul, what about you? That was good, Reed.
There's a few stories. I mean, maybe they're not as like these stories, but just kind of like situations that happened overall. Like, first of all, what Reed mentioned is like a lot of produce loads don't pay attention. And if you're booking off of load boards, it gets sometimes frustrating because you're trying to sell someone a load about produce and like they think it's the most amazing load at first. Like the for them, it's like, oh, the rate's great and it's gonna be a great load. But then it's like, oh, you talk through the details and the load actually kind of sucks and you're trying to sell them on it. And then like, I don't know, they have this thought that everything's gonna go well, but mostly there's a lot of issues in freight, in produce. First thing is that a lot of the loads that we did was like, it paid by weight. So I was trying to sell a carrier on a load that was paying by weight, where it's like, well, it depends on how much you scale. So there's a lot of issues with that, where like the driver got either like didn't get loaded enough or got overloaded, and then like he has to like calculate how much he's going to make on a load depending on what the bill of lading has on the weight. So that's one issue that would arise constantly. The second thing is like vented vans typically work for produce. And literally all a vented van is a vent in like a side of the trailer. And I had a guy once go to like a truck stop in Florida and they just like put like 2 holes in his trailer and like called it a vented van for like $100, which was kind of funny. Like he really wanted the load. So he just decided to create vents himself. And then like, honestly, we won like this huge shipment of like potatoes for a potato chip factory that it was just like, honestly, I think the whole like RFP went to us because I think we just underbid it and basically presented ourselves as like a produce brokerage. We did an awful job. Like it was so bad that we shut down like the factory, I think twice within like a couple weeks. And they just took all of those loads away from us. And it was like the most stressful couple weeks of booking freight because it was just terrible. We had like 20 shipments of potatoes every day, and it was like from various farms around Florida, and it was not a good time. It was just terrible. Like, because all we were just doing is posting it on like load boards and like covering it with truckers that like have never hauled produce before. So that was a bad time.
And so you guys shut down the factory because
we shut down the factory, I think, a couple times. Like they just didn't get the potatoes in time. Yeah. So like they stopped making potato chips and they pulled all those awarded lanes from us. So
what a crisis.
Yeah.
Wow.
But produce, there's always a lot of issues. And there's no detention. It's crazy. Like truckers just don't get paid anything for that. So
yeah. Wow. Well, I'm very glad that you guys share those with us so that hopefully folks listening can learn from 2 former brokers themselves about what to, ask about vented vans, and make sure you go through the details and be working with carriers, before booking out too many.
Everybody is going to make a mistake. Everyone who does this sort of stuff is going to forget, is going to screw. It's like trial by fire. You just like, it's the only way you really figure it out is you got to screw it up a couple times and you're going to never make that mistake again.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, both of you. And feel free to drop your horror stories in the chat if we got anyone out there who needs to get something off their chest. We're here to listen to you and
therapy
and
session.
see you. Yeah. Whatever you need.
Yeah. But I'm really excited on bringing Bill on here in a second. He's probably been listening to us the whole time, and I think
He's got
a
the
lot
real
to
horror
say.
stories. Let's be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
A lot of horror stories, and the most, I guess he's the expert among us here. So, Bill, welcome to the Produce Season Live, LinkedIn Live.
Yeah, thank you for having me, you guys. I really appreciate what you guys do and the content you put out there. It's so funny, it cracks me up every day, and no, I'm excited to be here and represent all the shippers and wholesalers in the produce world that make your lives as difficult as they can possibly be.
Well, Bill, thanks for coming on. I guess real quickly, could you give us a quick introduction, who you are, where you came from in terms of logistics, and what you do on a daily basis?
Sure. So I started my career at Coyote in Chicago. Just started as a carrier rep there when it was a small office up in Lake Forest, Illinois, and then eventually just kind of progressively went through the ranks at Coyote into a role they called a conference coordinator, kind of buffering the carrier and customer groups, and then eventually managed some carrier teams there. After Coyote, I went to a company called Sonmol Distribution out of Buffalo, New York. And we had a small brokerage there that we grew to a medium-sized brokerage. We had an asset-based transportation division with around 50-ish trucks. And then we did a lot of warehousing and some other things too. And then along the way there, I became a licensed customs broker. And then I wanted to get out of the brokerage space and learn something new. And it just so happens that I had an opportunity to come here and inject a lot of my logistics knowledge into what Ben B. Schwartz is doing and help them grow this company. So now I'm at Ben B, where my day-to-day looks like overseeing the logistics group, overseeing some of our other functions, but I'm still in it enough to enjoy it and enjoy a lot of the funny stuff and the horror stories that happens in produce and transportation.
Well, we definitely want to hear some horror stories from you, Bill, if you have any in a second. But so you work with brokers, freight brokers, and we're kind of curious, like, well, I guess the first question is, what is your favorite fruit? Sorry, I should have asked that beforehand. What is your favorite fruit, Bill?
So I'll give you my favorite and also my least favorite. So my favorite that I actually like to eat is Driscoll Sweetest Batch blackberries. So I've hated blackberries my whole life. But if you try their Sweetest Batch, it doesn't even taste like a blackberry. It's like a whole new fruit. Best thing ever, in my opinion. Super expensive. It's like, $7, $8 for a 6-ounce clamshell, which is crazy to me. And my least favorite is definitely cantaloupes and melons, because a round fruit in a square box makes so many problems in a truck, and I don't know how to fix it, and it's super frustrating for everybody. So that's my least favorite.
There's a business in there somewhere. There's definitely a business.
I agree.
We'll talk offline.
Yeah, if somebody in packaging is
offline.
listening, figure that out.
Yeah.
So your least favorite fruit is because of the packaging constraints or the issues that you have on a daily basis shipping it?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And just so much of that stuff comes out of Mexico, as I think looks like some of your listeners here have already pinpointed. And, when you stack pallets 7 feet high with boxes and use the cheapest corrugate you can possibly get, and then you have, a round fruit rolling around anytime that truck is going left, right, or forward or stopping, unless you've got it braced in, with like 17 braces, it becomes almost unavoidable sometimes. So.
Yikes. So I'm wondering, I have a few questions now, but first thing first, Bill, you work with a lot of freight brokers. You give them the produce freight from your company. I'm kind of curious, like, how do you go about like selecting a freight broker? Like, who's the right broker to work with?
Yeah, and I think Paul, we talked about this a little bit in the past. Being a Coyote guy, when I came from Coyote, I was like, all right, I'm in the shipper seat now. I know Coyote's culture. I know they do a good job. I'm going to come here. I'm going to give Coyote a bunch of freight. And I tried that, and it just doesn't work. I don't think a split model is good for what we do. And they don't have the experience. if I tender a load to Coyote and it ends up getting covered by, some guy that's been working there for 3 months who goes on DAT and finds a carrier that knows nothing about produce, I mean, like you were saying, Reed, that just so many problems come out of that. And so really what we're looking for, if we're going to add more brokers, or the ones that really provide a lot of value to us, are the guys who have worked hard to develop that produce specific carrier base, the guys that have a lot of teams, the guys who really understand reefer freight, who really understand produce, who have drivers that when they get to the shipper, they can look at the product and they can say, hey, this isn't loaded right, or call us and say, this product looks really crappy, and here are some pictures of it, and you might not want to load this stuff. Now we kind of have eyes on at the shipper, where we can make a decision of if we even want to load it or not. Then we get to the point of the detention issue and how detention doesn't really exist in the produce space. And so the brokers that we add are the guys who have the carrier base for that, understand all of it, and can kind of buffer us from all of the BS that happens in the produce space, where we don't have to deal with it. And they can get that capacity year round and also deal with the claims issues too.
Yeah.
You mentioned in our last conversation about spot checking all the cabs to make sure they're teams, like real teams. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, and I don't know, Carrie, maybe you can come up with a solution on this one too. But I told the guys I was absolutely shocked when we started dock checking to see, when we procured a team, if a team actually came in. I think when we started doing it, I don't know what the rate was, but it was like maybe 60% of the time it would come in as a strong single with some story about their mom's brother was sick, or I dropped off my co-driver in Indy on the way in, or whatever. And so what we started doing was when we found out through the dock check that it was just a single driver, we'd go on DAT, we'd take the single rate, and then we'd cut the single rate in half, and that was what we'd pay the carrier. So it was a huge financial deduction, which eventually helped us pretty much solve the issue. But our team still does stuff like, on really, really hot loads, let me talk to both drivers. It's a standard operating procedure for us to have both drivers on macro point, which is, I think, more than most shippers are going to do. And I mean, we've even done stuff like, let me FaceTime and see there's 2 drivers in the cab, which, that could probably lead to a bunch of HR issues, but it works. So I don't know. Maybe there's a solve in there for you somewhere, Carrie.
Really interesting. Can you tell us a little bit more about, as a shipper, you're getting RFPs from these brokers and you're figuring out who you're going to work with. How are you validating, like you said, that someone actually really knows what they're talking about? They're going to have drivers who show up and understand exactly, what they should and shouldn't be looking for. Like, I know we talk about trust all the time in the industry. Sure, there's a place for trust, but what sort of validation do you guys do?
Yeah, I think that's why we're so nitpicky on adding new guys first out of the gate. But also, there's so many bad broker pitches out there. And if you ask some of the right questions, I think generally you can weed out the guys who are lying and who are not lying. Just like, for example, I had a guy come in the terminal the other day who wanted to do business with us. And I started going over the things that we need. We need obviously our reefer capacity. We need a lot of teams. And here's like one lane that I'm really struggling on, and this is not true. So I don't need like a million emails on this, but find me capacity on Nogales to Detroit on guys that can drop trailers in Detroit. And then, eventually he emailed me and he's like, hey, we're just not strong in that area. So I think if you ask enough questions during like the vetting process of, what are some carriers that you use out there? What are some of your experiences and challenges with produce? What does your team do that you think makes you better at produce than other brokerages? You can get a sense pretty quickly if it's a bullshit pitch or not.
Nice. I have a totally different question about Benby Schwartz. You guys have the most sophisticated website I have ever seen for a shipper.
I said that last week.
If you can pull it up, Paul, I don't know if it's possible. It is like
I could.
You got like video game animators who designed that thing. Can you talk a little bit about Pet B Schwartz's go-to-market motion because I was blown away.
Yeah, so I mean, I love that I love you asked me that question.
You gotta click enter first. You come
It's a
in
video game.
spendbdetroit.com.
It's crazy.
You click enter.
Whoa.
And there's the music too.
It's
Soothing,
like Zen
right?
mode. I feel like I'm getting a massage or something.
Yeah,
And
so
then you
I
just
mean,
keep scrolling. Select the key location. Start your journey. Select the key
It's amazing.
delivery location.
Was this
Midwest.
was this one of your initiatives, Bill?
yes.
Really? Okay, can you tell us more about, because I can't imagine this was a cheap endeavor and it looks amazing. Tell us the story behind the website.
Yeah. So also, Paul, if you want to mute, you can hit the button in the lower right, that little wavy line.
1 second here. I'm actually just gonna.
I'm gonna download this song to listen to.
Oh yeah, there we go. Sorry. Okay, there we go. It should work now, right? It'll work.
Yeah. I mean, there was there's some thought behind that too. I mean, there's in the produce world, there's a lot of really multi-generational, family-owned wholesaler distributors. We are one of them, and not only that, but we're on a terminal market, which kind of even furthers that sense that people get that okay, like we do things very archaic, and we're just kind of sitting here like waiting for somebody else to come in and say, I want to buy the next box of produce. And we have a lot of young people that work here, and that's not really what we're about. So we're trying to present as that innovative, forward-thinking, growth-minded wholesaler distributor, and differentiate ourselves from the rest of the group.
Well, it worked on me. If I need to buy bulk produce, I'm coming to you guys.
We actually we had Jacob throw an idea here where he's like, require a selfie through the Trucker Tools app showing both drivers at pickup with the geotag and timestamp. So that's Jacob.
That's a great call there. That is one of our features is we have a camera through our mobile app. So when a driver is picking up, you can force them to take a geotag photo that has to come straight through the Trucker Tools app. It can't be uploaded from a camera roll. So it's a great call there, Jacob.
Awesome. And then
I hope your product managers are listening.
Bill, you mentioned that you appreciate when like you work with a broker and like the carrier they sent like basically informs you that the produce is bad at pickup, right? And like not to pick it up, because we had Roman here comment, and he's like talking about quality control. So many carriers call me and complain that the load they transport were low quality, and when they get to the delivery, they get rejected and claims being submitted. So I'm just curious, like, is your recommendation for the driver to be like, call the broker, be like, don't load this kind of thing? How should that work?
Yeah, and my recommendation is to do everything you possibly can at pickup before you load it to protect yourself. Take pictures of the product, pulp the product, take pictures of that. I would take pictures of any damage on the pallets or the boxes. I would take pictures of how they load it. And if anything with that stuff is off, then I would send it to whoever you're loading for and say, I don't feel comfortable with this. Something to the effect of, I'll transport it, but if there's an issue with this particular thing that I'm pointing out here, that's on you at this point and not on me. I'm here giving you that insight.
Okay, that's good to know. Roman commented again, yeah, specific to loads when the driver is not allowed to go to the dock, shipper will load and close the seal. Okay, but typically for produce, it's kind of like are the drivers there, like, or like how does that usually work?
I would say he's right more often than not, especially since COVID. There's definitely been a lot more sheds and warehouses that just won't let the drivers on the dock, and honestly that kind of plays to their advantage too. If because when you're a grower, your product for the entire season is not always good. It's fairly common at the beginning of the season, end of the season, product quality is not as great as you might want. And so, imagine you're in the shipper's shoes. The last thing you want is a driver on your dock taking pictures of the product and sending it to, us as the buyer, or sending it to anybody saying, hey, I don't think this is a great product. I don't think you should load it, because they want to get it out the door. And so, yeah, I mean, they kind of have a benefit from that. And I think that's what leads to a lot of the challenges in produce is that, if you load mediocre product and then, maybe there's a borderline issue in transit, technically by Blue Book standards, 4 to 5 degrees outside of set point for 12 hours or more is a claimable instance. So you end up in a lot of these, here at the office, we call them shit sandwiches, where everybody's got to take a bite because you got the shipper involved, we're involved and the carrier's involved, and nobody can really prove, who damaged the product there, if it was loaded shitty, damaged in transit, or what happened. So those are the difficulties with produce, but that's also why, there's a lot of money to be made in it as well.
But then a lot of the time, I mean, to your point of like, if they can't go on the dock to see what's being loaded, they have some plausible deniability about like the quality of the product. Obviously, if they can't see it, they can't do that check. But more often than not, like they'll get to a receiver, and that doesn't mean the receiver's not going to be like, oh, you didn't see it. That's fine. We'll take it. No worries. You know what I mean? There's going to be drivers getting wrapped up in nonsense at receivers with them refusing to unload product, whatever, right? Claims, that sort of stuff. And it's not going to matter that they couldn't, like, they're not going to care that the driver wasn't allowed to go on the dock at the shipper. You know what I mean? Right.
And it depends on who you're delivering to. Major retailers, you go to their DCs, product doesn't meet spec, they don't like the product, or there's like the QA guy's having a bad day. They can reject the whole load, and there's nothing you can do about that. So yeah, I think it definitely depends on where you're going, and we're more willing to accept the product and kind of work through those issues. But it depends.
Definitely. Bill, this was great. We're kind of running on time here. We have the meme contest coming up, but I just wanted to let everyone know that we are having, we did interview Bill a couple of weeks ago with Reed, and that podcast will be out in a couple of weeks, where we go more in depth on the produce market and overall produce shipping. So tune into that in a couple of weeks. For now, we will go on the meme contest, unless anyone has any final questions for Bill. Okay.
I was going to ask what your least favorite fruit is, but you already addressed that at the beginning, so no need.
It was melons, right? Melons and watermelons, or cantaloupe?
Cantaloupe, yeah. Cantaloupe and honeydew, yeah.
Okay. So this is the first ever produce meme contest, I think, in the world. So here is the first meme. We're gonna have about 10 memes that we're gonna go through, and then each one of us will select our favorite meme, and we'll see if there's a tiebreaker. Then Bill's gonna be making the final decision. So this is the first meme sent in from Nigel. I actually went to high school with Nigel, and now he works at Maybach. So yeah, this is the first meme, and I'm going to go on to the second one now. Did everyone capture this meme? Yeah, good to go. All right, second meme. So it's produce season rates, and then unpaid attention, weight issues, temp abuse, swearing off produce every year. All right. Serbian dispatcher, hello, I see you have a hot produce load, must deliver tomorrow at 8 a.m. for 2000.
Are those Serbian cigarettes they photoshopped into the image there?
Idea. I have no idea.
They definitely are.
We send it for $5,000 delivery Friday.
Bonus points for artistic creativity.
All right.
This is good.
I have paper lines.
Yeah, I like this one too.
Yeah. This is a cute one. Nice koala.
That's adorable.
Yeah. This one's great too. Another one with the same template.
Oh, this one again.
Let's see, a different template here. Okay, let's see here. I think we got 3 more to go. The reefer tracking during produce season starter pack.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here.
That's like 6 memes in one.
Yeah. Starter pack. Okay.
Timely.
I actually had one more that someone sent in the comments on LinkedIn that was really good, but I forgot to add it in here. But yeah,
I like that this one incorporates actual produce. I think you get some bonus.
yeah,
points for that.
exactly. Yeah,
Boris is a professional, so
that's
that
true.
makes sense.
And this is the final one. So just more
Yep.
broadly on the market. So dispatchers sending in their trucks from 2 years ago and their current cars for, so bad market. So yeah, does anyone let's just hear it first. Carrie, what was your favorite meme out of all of these?
Paper logs. It's
Paper
so
logs.
simple, and it's
Okay.
almost it's physical. The reaction I have.
Okay, so this is your favorite meme.
I can feel that meme. I can feel it.
Okay, Bill, what about you?
I mean, I don't want to make this less fun, but I agree. That one's my favorite. So simple. I can feel it like on my ear right now.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Interesting. So there's 2 votes for this meme right now. Reed, what about you?
Okay, go back to the beginning. Just scroll through the first ones again.
Okay.
All right, now just keep going. Just cycle through them again. I mean, I tend to simplicity. I like that one. I like the okay. I like this one. This is my one.
I think this one's really good. I don't even know where to get this image from, to be honest.
Don't put us in a tie, because then Bill's just going to tie break us with his. But they already won. That already won.
They already won.
So,
Exactly. They already won.
yeah, I mean, I am not unhappy with that. I have paper logs one winning. I think that's a good one. Extra points for simplicity, and it is a very visceral feeling. I know Bill when his company, at least if a strong solo shows up and he's on paper logs, then maybe there's still a chance it makes it on time. So
yeah. Well, I gotta say
always a
this
chance.
was my favorite meme, and like you said, Carrie, I liked how you incorporated the actual produce into this. And shout out to Boris for this one. This one for me was the funniest. But there was a lot of great ones here. So, but the winner is this one. I got to find out in the email who sent it to us in a second. I actually pull it up right now just to give them a shout out. Let's see here. So that was Mark Michelle. So Mark won. He won the Trucker Tools merchandise goodie bag and a Please Advise t-shirt. Shout out to Mark.
Good job, Mark.
Retail value millions right there. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Nice work, Mark.
Awesome. Okay. We top 3 should get prizes. Ooh. Should we
Sounds like
switch it
Truck
up
and
real
Site
quick?
Hub.
what's number 2? What's the second one? Who got second place?
Okay, yeah, I agree. We should do top 3 should get prizes. I agree. So shout out to Truck and Site Hub for actually giving us this recommendation. I agree. So to continue, I guess number 2. Carrie? What's your second favorite meme?
Can you keep going? A couple more.
Yeah. So go back or go to the front.
Go forward. Yeah, keep advancing through.
Okay.
I mean, I love a koala. I think that's a pretty adorable.
I know, it's so
meme. Just
cute.
from a
It's so cute.
Like, it's so cute. I could look at koalas
Yeah.
all day. But keep going.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. I mean, I like the koala. The Scotty meme isn't really doing it for me. Yeah, I do like the avocado because it's so dumb. I don't know. Those just I'm not sure. Is there clear consensus on second or third here?
You got to choose, Carrie.
Avocado.
Okay. I think let's go avocado.
Avocado. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Bill, what about you? Number 2.
Can I give you 2 votes?
You could give for the second and third.
Okay. I would give I'd give second to the Scotty Scheffler.
Okay.
The best carrier turns out to be Double Broker, and third I would give to the very first one, the vented van. What the fuck is this?
All right. So let's see here. So Scotty is number 2. Avocado. Let's see here. So Reed, what about you?
I'm avocado for second, and then
Okay.
I will go with this one for the third.
Okay. So I like that. Avocado wins number 2 because I'm going to vote for avocado again. Avocado wins the second prize. The first one is paper logs. Second is avocado. And then the third one, you said Scotty, Reed?
No, I said this one. I vote for
this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Carrie, I'm curious on your end. What is number 3?
The koala.
Koala. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still
like the
thinking about
koala
it.
one too.
It's pretty cute.
The koala one's cute. The koala one's really cute. Okay, so we have for third place right now, we have 1 Scotty, 1 what the hell is this, 1 koala.
Tie break us, Paul. Come on, pick one.
I'm gonna pick one out of these 3. Oh, okay, interesting.
Pressure's
Let
on.
me pull up the koala one real quick.
Pressure's on. We need the
Pressure
Jeopardy.
is on.
We need the Jeopardy song to play right now.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go with this one. What the hell is this? And yeah, I think Milan also likes the vented van one too. Shout out to Milan. So if we got it correctly, the first place is paper logs, second place is avocado, third place is the vented van. What the hell is this? So
Great meme.
Awesome.
Really impressed by all participants.
Serious strength in this showing.
yeah. So shout out to everyone who won and participated. And yeah, I guess we're gonna just start finishing up here with Q&A. With Carrie Q&A. If anyone is listening right now and has any questions for Carrie, please write them in the comments as quickly as possible. We have about 8 minutes, I think, left in time. So any questions you might have. I also have a couple questions from Instagram here. And also, Bill, you might have some questions for Carrie, so feel free to ask Carrie any questions. But yeah, so we have a question from Instagram. Carrie, someone's asking, what is the actual difference between DAT and Trucker Tools?
I think it's a trick question right there. Well, we're completely different products and companies. So Trucker Tools are 2 main products, or we have really 3 main products. First is our mobile app for carriers, which is focused on small fleets and owner operators with 17 different tools for life on the road, including our tracking and mobile marketplace. So that leads me to our second 2 products. Our load tracking visibility is really, I think, how a lot of folks know us. So end-to-end tracking for brokers to connect with carriers and then automatically pass updates on to shippers through mobile app, ELD, and text to track across the board. And finally, our third real product is on the capacity side, which there is overlap with DAT around. You can come on to Trucker Tools, bookaload.truckertools.com, or through a mobile app as a carrier and fully automatically and digitally book a load or submit offers. We've got digital offers and fully integrated with brokers' TMSs. So you get real-time live responses based on the true status of a loads in the TMS, as opposed to the concept of posting loads like there is on DAT. So there's nothing stale on the Trucker Tools marketplace. So a lot of differences. Load tracking is definitely the big one there. So whoever asked that, I would be happy to chime in a little bit or to talk more in person. So shoot me a note and can walk you through the broker tech world.
Sounds good, Carrie. Second question from Instagram is, will there be any feature in Trucker Tools that could automatically inform a broker about detention, like via email?
Yeah, so I encourage whoever asks that to also reach out to me. We can configure custom notifications, so would be happy to discuss what that could look like.
Okay, so you could do it now. You just have to configure it.
Yeah, customization.
Okay, got it. Sounds good. Someone's asking you about your handicap. Truck Insight Hub. Yeah, what's your handicap, Carrie?
So I'm a very passionate golfer. I'm not necessarily a very good golfer. I just started like a year or two ago. Right now, I think I'm a 23. So uh, still, making progress. I'm not
Great,
consistently
great member
breaking
guest
100.
candidate here. 23 handicap. You come out, fire a good round, get a lot of strokes.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. But I do love to golf. And I'd be happy to play with anyone in a member guest tournament. So if you're in the Chicago area, I'm very available all summer long.
Very cool. I've never actually golfed before besides playing Top Golf, so I don't know if you want to play with me. I can hit the ball far though. That's the only thing. I can't hit it in
You're
the
just
right
so
direction.
tall.
Probably. Yeah.
You got to get very custom clubs when you're as tall as you
Yeah,
are.
that's true. It's true. Bill, you're hanging out over there on mute. You got any questions for Carrie?
I do have a question for Carrie. What about, is there any way to see temperature variations in transit where we could get like a call out to that and we could try to fix something before it got to us and became a claim?
Yes. So I mentioned earlier that we are releasing our cold chain product over the coming month/weeks. So we are going to be able to surface temperature fluctuation and variation. So that is something that we're going to be able to do. It's development complete. We're just preparing to release to the market over the next couple of weeks. So we should talk.
Sounds good. Let's do that.
I thought you were
Very
going to
nice.
ask me what my favorite fruit was. I'm kind of sad you didn't.
Okay, what's your favorite fruit?
Strawberries.
Oh yeah, what kind? You got to get a little more detailed than that.
Well, yeah, I was impressed when you said Driscoll. I feel like I'm kind of a cheap produce buyer, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to be admitting that on a public forum, but probably just like I go to Trader Joe's and buy the cheapest strawberries they have there. But maybe I need to treat myself a little bit and start buying Driscoll and the small clamshells like you do. You're inspiring me to level up my lifestyle.
That's very technical produce language there, the small clamshells. Is that like the name of the box? Like the is that what the packaging?
Yeah, that's well done, Carrie. You nailed that one. That's real
I
terminology.
never heard it, but I listened to you say that, and I can see the little tiny guys. So if you're paying $8 you probably get 7 blackberries in that thing, but clearly it makes you happy. So I'm glad for you.
Bill just grabs them off the dock, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly.
I do. Yeah, when the cantaloupes are spilling out of the truck onto the ground, then I normally just pick a couple up and bring them home.
So, Bill, you just get free produce at home, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Not bad. Not a bad deal. I got to tell you that nothing beats like fresh produce from like a babushka on the street in Poland, where you just, she's sitting with like, I don't know, with her strawberries, when it's like seasonal. It was probably freshly picked from her garden in the morning, and they're like all small, like red, sweet strawberries. They're really, really good. And it's about to start like in the next couple of weeks, but it only lasts for like all of June. We'll have strawberries, and then like we'll transition to like raspberries. And then it's like you could buy strawberries and like raspberries in the store that are like from Spain and Portugal, like year round, but they're not that good. So like
Paul, you might need to do a story on the babushka supply chain, produce supply chain here, and understand
that would be actually a really good story.
Understand her procurement process.
I agree. That would actually make a really good story. Awesome. Anything else to add to this before we finish up?
Everybody scan Carrie's QR code and follow her and like her posts about produce season and just smash like on everything else, I guess, huh?
I appreciate that, Reed. Right back at you. I'm really curious for feedback from folks who have been watching and attended this first ever Fruit Caviar Live. Please comment on our LinkedIn or send us a note. Would love to know what you guys thought, because this is the first time we've ever done something like this.
Yep, definitely. Looking for any feedback to improve, and tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. And yeah, this has been great. So thank you all for participating. And I guess we'll be on sometime soon. We got fireworks coming off of Reed's video. But yeah, good stuff.
That was amazing.
How did you do that, Reed?
Mac like does it now. Like if you make an emotion, or if you make a certain hand. Yeah, see, there you go. Now you guys know the.
Oh my god, that is so cool.
You got to have the latest version of the Mac operating system, I think. But yeah, there you go. There's a party trick for everybody. A party
Nice.
trick.
Good stuff. Well, that's a great way to end it. Thank you all for participating, and yeah, it's been a good one.
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming, Bill.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
See ya.